Hello, Ordigger fans, and welcome to the first ever installment of Mines MidWeek with Colorado School of Mines head football coach Bob Stitt. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
My pleasure.
Before we get into the 2013 season, which is just right around the corner, let's talk briefly about your 2012 campaign. Things started off well with your team reaching number 18 in the AFCA Division II coaches poll after a 3-0 record, but injuries kind of started to bite your team in the keister towards the end of the year. So talk about the 2012 season a little bit.
We had high hopes. Thought probably it would be our best offense since the 04 year. Started out that way, set a school record for passing in the 4th week, but in the process, we lost all of our running backs. So it completely changed everything we were doing on offense, and we had to be a one-dimensional team as far as throwing it, and then we ended up getting 3 receivers banged up, and we just had to hang on for the 65 season.
I want to talk about fall camp a little bit. How did everything go? How's your team health-wise? Were there any position battles that you and the coaching staff kind of expected to come into camp, and how'd those turn out?
We came out of fall camp pretty healthy. A few nicks here and there, and everybody's going to be in pretty good shape come Saturday. And really coming out of spring ball, nothing's changed now. We're kind of set on all the positions, and we had a little bit of a question mark at a couple positions, but it worked out the way we thought it was going to be.
Okay, great. You got 22 seniors on this year's team, 18 of whom will be suiting up for you on Saturdays. How will having that much experience on the field benefit your team this season?
Well, we got a lot of good players in that group too. You can have a lot of seniors, a lot of leadership, but you've got to have some players in that group, and there's going to be a lot of guys doing it for us on Saturday. And seniors have a little bit of a different sense of urgency. This is their last go-around. This is the last time that they're going to run out on the field for an opener, and the other kids will feed off of that. So I've never had a great football team that didn't have a great senior class. I think we got a good one.
Great. You returned the majority of your defense from last season. I think you got like 8 or so starters returning. What are you expecting to see out of that unit this year?
We need to see great things. And I really expected last year for us to come out of the gates playing better defense. We did not, for the first 5 weeks of the season, turn it on in the end, and really the defense is what we had to lean on to try to get to that 6th win. And I expect a lot better from the start out of this group, and they've had a good fall camp. The offense really challenged them in fall camp and made them wake up a little bit. And that last scrimmage Thursday night, they were pretty salty.
Good. Offensively, you got a few holes to fill. You got a couple of very good playmakers to replace. You got some guys that were on the O-line for years that you have to replace, and you get back senior running back Dan Palmer, who missed a lot of last year due to an injury. Can we anticipate a return to a more balanced offense this season?
You'd like to say that, but it's really, what's the defense going to do? We're not going to beat our head against the wall and try to run the ball, into situations that aren't favorable. So it depends week to week what they're doing to us, and this offense really takes what the defense gives you, and I think our quarterbacks can do that for us with Matt and Joe. I think both guys we can win with, and they're going to get our offense in good situations and into good plays.
Speaking of holes to fill, I just want to touch on this real quick. You had a punter in years past named Taylor Carty, who set the all-time Division II career record, 2 different statistical Division II career records. Special teams, that's somebody you're going to have to replace. Avery Llewellyn, your kicker, is also going to be punting this year. How's he been handling the double duty so far?
Number one, we don't plan on punting, but Avery can do it. And he's got a nice leg, and as long as he stays consistent, which he has in fall camp, it looks a lot like Taylor Carty out there at practice when he really hits it. So we're going to have to lean on him at some point. We don't think it's very often, but he's looked really strong.
Speaking of not punting, if we know anything about a Bob Stitt coach football team, it's going to score a lot of points. But to do that, you have to replace, basically your entire receiving core, at least the starting portion of it, as well as you got some major holes on your offensive line that, you're going to have guys that will step in. So how have you and the coaching staff addressed those spots, particularly with younger guys taking over those starting roles?
We've got to replace a lot of starters, but I think the depth is better than it's ever been. And we're playing 6 or 8 receivers, and we're going to play 2 to 3 running backs. We could play both quarterbacks. The offensive line is very, very solid. Scott Carey's done a fantastic job with those guys. So I feel probably better about the offense than I have in a long time, just because when that so-called starter comes out, that next guy in is pretty darn good. And I don't know if we've ever had a fall camp offensively that we were ready to go as early as we were this year. Usually the defense is way ahead of the offense, and from day one, the offense really kind of handled the defense probably until the last scrimmage. So kind of a no-name offense, but hopefully they're going to make a name for themselves by the end of the season.
I'm sure they will. Saturday we'll kick off your season opener against South Dakota Mines, a team that you beat pretty handily last year by a score of 71-7. What are you expecting to see out of the Hard Rockers this time around?
Year 2, you're always going to get better. That first year, when you come in, you're just trying to get to know your team a little bit, and they're trying to get to know you. And I think we're going to see a pretty good football team coming in here, a much improved football team, and they got some players. As far as looking at the score of their game last week, you don't put that many points up without having some playmakers. So we're going to have to come ready to play.
All right, Coach, that's all the time we have for this week. Thanks for stopping by. Reminder to all the fans watching at home, you can check up on Mines football anytime by going to www.csmordiggers.com. And again, this Saturday, September 7th at Campbell Field, the Ordiggers kick off their 2013 season against South Dakota Mines. We'll see you next week.